Hi everyone, welcome to Market Intel, the show that tells you what's happening on the front line for SME business owners in New Zealand. Today I'm joined by Cameron Bagrie from Bagrie Economics. How are you, Cameron?
Yeah, but actually, cracking Wellington Day. Looking forward to wandering up around the hills this afternoon and doing a little bit of exercise.
So Cameron, you've been an economist probably for, on 20 years now, I think, from what I understand?
Yeah, about the mid-1990s, I came out of university in the South Island, was lucky enough to get a job at the New Zealand Treasury. I worked there for sort of 3.5 years, and then the National Bank came and sort of knocked on my door, and National Bank became the ANZ Bank and became Chief Economist, and spent about 12 years in that job, and I've been out on my own now, running my own shop, Bagrie Economics, which is a lot more, I guess, a little bit more of a tailored offering. I've been doing that for 2 years and loving it.
Oh, good stuff. So what then sort of general would Bagrie Economics do as far as a tailored offering goes for, I'm assuming you're sort of dealing with the upper end of business scale, are you, at the moment?
Yeah, what I find out there, I was with the bank, we had a decent team. We used to provide what's called, pretty generic, what you call sort of commodity commentary. And I guess I think there's a big gap in the market for a lot more tailored, exclusive stuff. So does that involve me writing some pieces? But a lot of it is about getting me involved at the strategic level, talking to directors, senior management, talking to the customers of the customer. I don't have all the answers, but what people tend to use me for is a little bit more of a sounding board, a bit more of a cross-check in regard to, well, have you thought about this, or this sort of thing is going on as well. A classic example at the moment is COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 is obviously one hell of a big shock, but we need to step back and think about there are an awful lot of things that were going on pre the unleashing of COVID-19. Globalisation was starting to unwind. What we're seeing with COVID-19, that it's just accelerating that unwind of globalisation as countries start to think a lot more internally as opposed to externally.
So what I wanted to sort of touch on today was obviously the budget is sort of the main thing in the news at the moment, and it's what a lot of small business owners have been sort of waiting for, to see what it's going to look like for them coming out of this COVID lockdown. And the first point I would touch on that I would like your advice is around the actual amount of debt that the government's taking on. So, relative of percentage of GDP aside, $140 billion is a truckload of money. In your view, is it sustainable for New Zealand to have that much debt in the long term?
Well, no, it's not. And if you look at your net debt, it's going to go from about 60 billion to 200 billion in the next 4 years. Now, your glass half full. The strategy in the budget was to go big and go hard. In fact, it's not just about the budget. That's been the government's policy response. The government's got a big balance sheet. We had incredibly low levels of debt. When your economy gets into trouble, and we are in trouble, the right policy response is for the Reserve Bank, obviously, has been cutting rates, trying to keep interest rates low. But the government's got a big balance sheet. So what are we doing for the next few years? We are leaning on that balance sheet. The SMEs are facing a cash crunch. They've got problems in regard to liquidity, but they really don't have that big balance sheet. So what is the government doing at the moment? It's ploughing billions and billions and billions of dollars into the economy. The COVID relief package itself is about 62 odd billion. About 40 billion of that has been allocated. There's about 20 billion to go. Now that is going to make the downturn less harsh. It's not going to turn a downturn into an upturn. But the New Zealand economy will turn the corner, over 2021. I think it's still going to be a bit of a slow grind out the other side. But when we start to improve and we get back on a firmer footing, we're going to have to start to think about, well, we need to pay that debt back. We've got to get it back down. Because we've got to get money back in the kitty for the next rainy day. We need a bit of a war chest. If you go have a look at the economic cycles through New Zealand, and you go back 11 years from now, we had the global financial crisis. About 11 years prior to that, we had the Asian crisis. And that was 97, 98. And then you go back and have a look at what happened between 87 and sort of 1991. So statistically, about every 10 years, we're going to have a bit of a problem. So 2030, keep your eyes open. But what are we going to need by 2030? We're going to need that debt paid down. Now, that is going to be a real long grind. Now, what does that mean? Tough decisions. not much spending. Less spending or potentially less spending on some key areas. Less money available for capital investment. What it also means, and we'll probably have this debate in 2021, will be, do taxes need to go up? And if they do, who is going to pay?
Exactly. Is it going to be the mum and dad small business owner that's like this budget? It's very much been put out to the media that it's about preserving jobs and trying to create jobs. However, a lot of business owners, particularly in that SME space, which is the backbone of our country, have sort of criticised that it doesn't do enough for them that are taking all this personal risk to actually, continue the business or continue to keep staff on. And what's your view? Does this budget, in the way that it's been put out at the moment, sort of, like they're talking about spending for trades and such, and only 400 million going into tourism, is it doing enough to give enough confidence for a small to medium business owner that's a mum and dad to go, you know what, yeah, I will create some 2 new jobs and I'm going to keep grinding away?
Well, glass are full. They've gone big, and they've put some pretty serious money on the table. The wage subsidy scheme has been extended another, I think it's 10 weeks, another 3.2 billion. So they're putting some pretty serious cash in the economy's and businesses' hands. There's about $1 billion that's been allocated to try to create what's called green-based jobs. There's about 1.6 billion for skills, education-based training, including apprenticeships. So yes, the money's going out the door pretty damn quick. I guess the $1 million question, and what we don't know at the moment, is that spending going to be effective? Is it actually going to create the jobs? Is that $1 billion of environmental-based jobs, are they going to be sustainable jobs, or they're just going to be temporary in nature? And this is where we've got to be really careful with budgets, because budgets tend to be big spending affairs. And we got an absolute cracker last week. But the real issue, when the rubber hits the road in regard to how effective is it going to be on the other side? And at the moment, we really can't answer that.
Doesn't seem to be much of a plan. I think tourism's been one of those key things that's been heavily criticised, with the tourism minister sort of being MIA the last 8 weeks, and only 400 million at this stage has been allocated. And I know a lot of the sort of key senior managers in the tourism industry have been quite critical of that. What's your view on tourism? Like we've sort of talked a little bit in the media around this Trans-Tasman bubble, and if it comes off, is that going to be enough, you think, to really create that station environment and actually really boost our domestic tourism market as well?
Look, if you look at the tourism market in New Zealand, it's about a $40 billion sector. About 23 billion is local, and about 13 billion of it is international tourists coming in the door. Now, the international tourist dollar is going to be closer to zero than 17 billion. It is going to be a very low number over the coming 12 months. Now, in terms of opportunities, there are some. Because the borders are up, that means people are not coming in, but New Zealanders are not going out either. Now, so typically we get about 4 million foreigners coming into New Zealand. There's about 3 million trips done by New Zealanders going out the other side. So we got the potential to reshuffle, reallocate that spending which we used to take place overseas into New Zealand. Is it $13 billion available? The answer is no. I think that pot is about 13 billion. But there's an awful lot of work or talk at the moment about what's called staycations, getting New Zealanders to holiday at home. What we normally also see is that when the international tourism sector goes quiet, the domestic market picks up quite strongly. Is that going to take place this time around? I don't think so, because people are taking pretty big income hits. People have been running down their leave balances. The unemployment rate is moving up. So the domestic sector is going to be there in part, but it's not going to be the full Monty like we've been used to. I guess the real big canary in the coal mine here that could really be a big game changer for the tourism sector, if we can get that Trans-Tasman bubble going. Australians last year, there were about 12 million citizen trips from Australians overseas. Well, they're not going overseas at the moment, and normally when they go up to places such as Indonesia. I don't think they're going to be rushing back to places such as Indonesia. Now that 12 million is a potential pot. Well, if we can get that Trans-Tasman bubble open, and obviously there's an awful lot of boxes that need to get ticked in regard to that, but that could be a big major void filler if we could start to see movement in that arena.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be quite the same because, like, we've already got the infrastructure in place. Essentially, well, there was criticism that Queenstown was bursting at the seams, but like Queenstown would probably naturally be the most iconic place that would sort of open up straight away to that Trans-Tasman bubble, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And but there's complicating factors here too. Like, you got to think about airline accessibility. How many airlines are going to be operating on that Trans-Tasman route? And in all likelihood, it'll probably be Air New Zealand and Qantas, Jetstar. I don't think too many of the other ones are going to be back anytime soon. Yeah, so we've been in a world for a long time where it's been pretty easy to holiday. It's been all power to the consumer, and the cost of international travel has been coming down. Given the environment we are in, going forward, where airlines are under a fair bit of pressure, they'll be pretty keen to fill the seats, but I think there'll be limitations in regard to how much discounting they can actually do going forward. Certainly, I don't think we're going to see the same amount of international air traffic competition we've been used to, like we've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Those days might be gone, and the $50 Jetstar seats to Auckland as well domestically, it'll be interesting to see if they continue, or if they slowly creep as well.
Yeah, and what you saw with Air New Zealand, obviously, people would come in from overseas, they'd spend a bit of time in Auckland, they'd jump on a plane, and they'd be down at Queenstown. And because those planes were pretty well booked, Air New Zealand would just sell all the other seats to domestics, to Kiwis to run on down there. Well, if you don't have that big patronage coming from the international sort of market, then Kiwis are going to pay for those seats, and I don't think they'll be $50 seats.
That $400 million that's been allocated for tourism, this Trans-Tasman bubble, we're realistically probably looking a good 8 to 12 months before anything can actually really happen for that, I'd imagine. Do you think that's going to be enough with the increase of the wage subsidy and the other things that they're plugging this $400 million in to keep the tourism guys going until they're ready for this potential bubble? Is it going to be enough?
No, so if you look at what's available out there at the moment, obviously the tourism sector will be one sector that will be taking out a fair chunk of that wage subsidy scheme. And that's completely separate to the $400 million. I'd expect tourism-related businesses would be accessing the loan scheme that the government has got on the table as well via IRD. If tourism-related businesses can put out a bit of a plan in regard to where they're going forward, in regard to what they think their patronage could be, you'd hope that the banks would be courageous, stepping up to the plate and supporting those businesses. So there are a whole lot of mechanisms that are available. The $400 million, to be honest, is a bit of a drop in the bucket. What are they going to use that money for? They're going to use that to buy what's called sort of more strategic tourism-related investments, protect them. Who gets that pot of gold, we don't know. But what we also know is that there's a couple more committees that have been set up. I think a group of ministers are going to take control of tourism, and I think they're looking at getting some external sector involvement as well. You'd certainly hope that those groups of individuals come up with some pretty good ideas, and it doesn't have to be grand things. I've been out there pretty vocal saying that if you want to get the tourism sector up and running, let's have some common sense approaches to some little things. We don't need more holidays. What we need are expanded holidays, i.e., let's not have holidays all at the same time. You have different weeks for our holidays, because we don't want everybody rushing off down to Queenstown for that peak 2-week period over July. If we can start to have an extended holiday period, a sort of 3 to 4 week period, it's just going to cushion the sector a little bit, give them a little bit more of a shoulder. We obviously don't want New Zealand school holidays to be at the same time as Australia if we open up that Trans-Tasman bubble. Now, these are just some real simple examples of things we need to think about in regard to making sure that we maximise those opportunities if we're unlocking them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, a common sense strategic approach is as opposed to just chucking money at it and hoping something happens. Actually having to proper think about it.
Yeah, and it doesn't just have to be about deploying cash, throwing money around like confetti. I can still remember going back to after the GFC, and after the GFC, we had a big sort of powwow across New Zealand, and what did they come out of that with? The idea that came out of that, or one of the ideas, was to build a whole lot of cycle tracks. And I can remember thinking about that, what an absolute waste of time, But I'll tell you what, you have a look at what that did over the years, it's been absolutely fantastic. Now, that's just an example about sometimes you need some lateral thinking in regard to what those opportunities could be. And it's not just about spending big bucks.
Mm-hmm. And as far as opportunities go, there will be some industries that do well out of this. And where do you see the opportunities lie at the moment? You sort of briefly touched on it before in regards to pharmaceuticals and manufacturing back here in New Zealand. Is there any sort of, and a lot of people have talked about that we might see a boost in our primary industries. Where do you see the industries that will sort of do well out of this, lockdown period?
Well, it's not just the lockdown period. Look, if I have a look at, even if New Zealand goes back to level 1, which we hope we're going to get there in the next couple of months, the New Zealand economy is going to be operating like it was during the global financial crisis, because the economy is still not going to be fully functional. So even at the aspirational target, we're going to still be taking hits. Now, some sectors are going to be taking bigger hits than others. If I have a look at where the opportunities are going forward, obviously healthcare. First and foremost, this is a major health shock, so we need to improve our readiness. And what we also know is that healthcare is getting big support from demographics because the population is ageing. Obviously, technology, is going to be turbocharged. We're going to start to think about, different work practices. Hopefully, businesses will get far more aggressive in regard to technology uptake to improve productivity going forward. I think there's some select opportunities in manufacturing. I don't think New Zealand can do large runs of products. We're just not going to be efficient. We don't have the scale, but certainly there's going to be some capability there to produce stuff onshore that was being produced offshore. The big issue is going to be our cost competitiveness. Can we get that cost curve down? We're not going to be as cheap, but can we get within the similar zone? I'm a big believer in what's called Sanctuary New Zealand. And let's try to get leverage off the brand that we've got. If we manage to truly squash this thing, we can keep it out. And what we're seeing is that some countries have got it out, Singapore, Korea, China, and by hell, it's come right back in. Being surrounded by water is probably quite a nice place to be. So I think there's some opportunities to not just bring people down here to build a bunker or have a flash holiday home. We want to bring down the entrepreneurs, particularly the digitally tech-savvy individuals. Give them a visa. It's not for cash. It's for intellectual property. We want their knowledge, their skills, then to be competing, employing Kiwis. I also think there's a pretty big opportunity here to put the brand around what New Zealand produces in regard to food. We are actually seeing the food supply chain has been disrupted around the globe. The danger is that countries start to turn a little bit more internal in regard to satisfying those food needs. But if you look at what we've got at the moment around the globe, there's some pretty good demand for healthy, good product. I noticed overnight global dairy trade prices were up, which in this economic environment is a really good result.
So we're actually in quite a good position, like you say, geographically, because we're surrounded by water to actually really battle and keep this out. But prior to that, New Zealand had a good green, clean image, and it's sort of being pushed that, we are quite an easy country to do business in. So, it'd be good at, you're right, absolutely. If we could try and attract some of that talent and cash from overseas to invest into New Zealand to grow new products and new ideas, it could be awesome for us, really, couldn't it?
Yeah. Well, if you ever look in a lot of countries, what we're seeing around the globe at the moment is that people aren't in any hurry to go back to work, and rightly so. We're seeing some meat processing plants in America are being shut down. Why? Because they suddenly find that they've got 20 to 30 staff on the production chain that have got the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about New Zealand, if we truly get to zero, we eliminate this thing and we can keep it out. It's PR heaven in regard to how we can market New Zealand Inc. Because if you're living around the globe at the moment and your safety for your family is a concern, if you're running a business, you're going to think about safety for your staff. Now, okay, upping sticks and shifting halfway around the globe to be down in New Zealand is not an easy decision. But if you think about it through a long-term lens and looking after yourself, looking after your own family, looking after your staff, not a hard decision. You're prepared to wear that 14-day quarantine and then set up a new life down in the Antipodes.
I've got a bit of a two-pronged question for you. One is, do you like this budget? And then also, what would be your advice for an SME business owner at the moment going into this brave new non-lockdown world?
If I have a look at the budget itself, glass half full, we needed to go big and go hard, and we did. Glass half empty, or where the budget fell short, was that we talk an awful lot about the reboot or the rebuild of the New Zealand economy on the other side. What we saw in the budget was pretty well Zippo in regard to that. Now, to be fair, it's pretty hard to give some parameters around what that is going to look like, given that things are moving so fast. But I think your businesses out there were looking for a little bit of clarity. Well, where's this growth going to come from? What is New Zealand going to look like? What did we get? We got a big checkbook, but we didn't really get a strategy around it in regard to where it's going to go. If you look at the COVID relief package, there's still $20 billion left to be allocated. We know it's going to get allocated towards the recovery, the reboot, and the rebuild. But what are the parameters around what determines who gets what? What does that reboot actually look like? So on that level, I think it fell short. In regard to individual businesses at the moment, or I'll just give you an illustration in regard to how I'm thinking about my business at the moment, and a couple that I run. A couple of sort of mottos that I live by at the moment is that 1 + 1 now equals 11. It doesn't equal 2. We are going through an exponential pace of change. And to me, it's going to accelerate. And change is not just about responding to COVID or the shock that we are going through today and the different behavioural responses. We're seeing changes across multiple levels. And the second thing is, think small to stand tall. Quite often we get so caught up in the bigger picture stuff, we forget about the stuff that's right in front of our eyes that we can control. If you think about the nuts and bolts of any business, the cement or the muscle that sort of holds it together is all about the little things. It's those little fibres, those little things you do from day to day that individually, do they make a big difference? The answer is no. But if you make a lot of little decisions that are good decisions, over time, they're going to make a pretty big difference to your organisation.
Awesome. So I love that. So like you said, make a lot of little decisions, but good ones. Like actually think about everything. Not just high level, she'll be right attitude. Worry about the macro, but think micro.
No,
I love that. So, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And so there you go, everyone. Cameron Bagrie, renowned New Zealand economist, also always well known for saying it how it is, which is what I think we need in this current environment as well. So, thank you very much, and you have a great day, Cameron. I look forward to talking to you soon.
All the best.
Cheers.